Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Food, Wine, and Whiskey in your own backyard. I am Rob, your host, joined today by Dave Scott and Glenn Burnett. How you guys doing?
Doing well.
Yeah, hanging in there, man.
Man, it's a whiskey kind of show today. We kind of last couple have been some wine episodes, and I've kind of missed the brown juice that we enjoyed together.
Yep. What better on a nice lazy Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't drink whiskey on a Sunday afternoon?
Right.
That's normal, isn't it?
That's right. Getting your Sunday buzz on before
Dinner.
dinner. I was going to say before work on Monday.
Oh, yeah, that's that too. All right, Dave, this is a whiskey that I think you're a big fan of. I know for sure. Glenn?
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of.
Big fan. Okay, this is an episode everybody saw in the title of this episode. We're going to talk about Smoke Wagon. I haven't had a lot of Smoke Wagon. I've had some bottles in the bar, but haven't opened them up. But I thought it'd be fun to maybe dive in and just talk about they only have these three as their standard offerings, right? The straight bourbon, the small batch, and the uncut unfiltered.
Correct.
That's their
Yeah, that's their core.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now they do some barrel selections. They have some specialty releases and things like that. But I thought it might be fun just to go through because you two like this a lot, and I wanted to kind of dive into it a little bit more. And let's just go through their three standard offerings and talk about them a little bit.
All right, let's do it.
We set it up in a way that I don't know if it's going to play out. I don't think it shouldn't play out. But what we're doing is we just set this up just to have a little fun. Did them blind, and I think I should be able to go uncut, unfiltered should clearly be the best one, and it's the highest proof. I should be able to recognize that. And then we go down to the small batch, and then, which is what, 100 proof?
Yes.
And then the straight bourbon 94?
92.5.
92.5. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. And then what we have at the end is, Dave, you brought I
brought a private barrel pick. It's the Specs, and it is barrel number 509. It's 8-year, 114.6 proof.
So whatever's deemed the winner out of our blind, we'll put up against that, and it should be the uncut unfiltered. I mean, I'm going to say it right now. If we don't pick uncut unfiltered,
we're not true bourbon drinkers.
Well, I don't know. Maybe just I'm going to go there. I'm going to say that.
Okay.
We're basic proof whores.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So what do we know about Smoke Wagon? What I know is that it's MGP sourced.
Right.
It's
a high rye.
Two guys started the distillery, and the name of the distillery is what?
H&C
Distillery?
Nevada Distillery.
Yeah. Nevada HBC.
H&C.
Yeah, Nevada. There it is on the bottle. I see it. Nevada H&C Distilling
H&C.
Company, and that's because it's Aaron and Jonathan started, and they're using the first initial of the last name
Yep.
for H&C. You want to give their full names? I'll let you tackle those two last names.
Yeah, put it on me. So Aaron Chipnick or Chipenick.
Yeah.
This is from Texas, so
Exactly.
put my accent on it, and then Jonathan Hensley.
Jonathan Hensley. All right. So when did this start? 2012, if I'm remembering right, Glenn?
Yeah, that sounds right.
And give the background on Aaron. I mean, I don't know the whole story, but I read a little bit that.
So from what I understand, Aaron was in the food and alcohol business, bartender in Colorado, and Jonathan was a customer and client. Got to talking one day and decided that they wanted to do something else. So ended up coming up with the idea of starting a distillery with the goal of distilling their own spirit, their own distillate, and going from there in Nevada. But I think something having to do with Nevada law prevented them from being able to distill their own distillate. But
do they distill vodka in that though? Gin? Are they making that? I thought I read somewhere they were.
I don't know for a fact.
I know they make a vodka.
Okay.
But I don't. Maybe it's just the bourbon.
Maybe there's something with the bourbon.
That there are qualifications in Nevada that limit them. But yes, they do have a vodka product. So or clear spirit product.
So, question for you two: do you remember where you first heard about Smoke Wagon? Where it got?
I do.
I know where I heard about it, and I went, "What the hell is that?" And there was big throughout the bourbon community, all the different Facebook groups. There was a big uproar, and I don't want to. Yeah. Is that what you're remembering? Same thing?
Yes. So I'm in a couple national groups, Bourbon Junkies and Bourbon Blind Nation. And the first time I ever heard about Smoke Wagon, I was a part of Bourbon Blind Nation and Bourbon Junkies. And on that site, people were always talking about upcoming new stuff. And I can remember a guy that was a member of the group at the time, but definitely is not a member of the group anymore, Crazy Nas, said, hey, you ought to try Smoke Wagon. He's a store owner in San Diego, if you don't, or in Southern California.
Yeah.
If you've never heard of it. But he said, you ought to try Smoke Wagon.
Allegedly, he said this.
Yeah. No, he definitely said it. And I kind of questioned him, how is it? And he said, I've got some coming to the store.
Oh, you spoke to him. You communicated back and forth.
I communicated back and forth via private message with him.
Okay.
And because he was always showing bottles within the group of stuff he had in the store, like E.H. Taylor, single barrel or something, but pricing was crazy.
Secondary.
Yeah, crazy. So when he said, I've got Smoke Wagon coming, I'd never heard of it, so I Googled it and saw that it was a distillery out of Nevada doing private barrel picks. And that's where it kind of blew up because he appropriated a barrel that somebody else picked.
That didn't belong to him.
That didn't belong to him through a loophole in the distributorship.
Some say loophole.
Yeah.
Some other people say the person who helped him from the distillery knew what he was doing.
Yeah, well.
So, allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. But, and that's where Smoke Wagon really took off because all of the negative press.
And that was a year and a half ago, 2 years ago?
It's been 2 years ago, at least. Yeah, a good 2 years. And, you know, as they say, any press is good press. Well, that was a bunch of negative press as far as Crazy Nas liquor store. But
who's still operating.
Yeah, I mean, but he's no longer in any of the groups that I'm in. And he also, if you ask Aaron at Smoke Wagon about it, he stays silent, but basically says won't be ever doing business with him again.
Well, good for him.
So
is that how you come to kind of see them kind of catapulted onto the bourbon scene?
For me, it was watching a review on YouTube.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Remember the channel?
I think it was Mash and Drum.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. 2 years ago.
It was about a year ago when I think I heard about Smoke, but I didn't know much about it until I saw the review, and then I started looking into it more.
I just remember 2 years ago in all the bourbon groups, everybody that was, crossed over into multiple groups were shooting messages into every group. Hey, man, if you see this opportunity, don't buy it. Everybody was saying stay away because of how he had acquired that barrel. And that's where I saw it. Cool that you saw it on YouTube, or Smoke Wagon on YouTube.
Yeah.
Man, it wasn't until about probably a year ago that I started watching Whiskey Tube, is what they call it on YouTube. But
right. But that was the thing, is that when Crazy Nas appropriated all the bottles out of that barrel, a store pick, a private barrel from Smoke Wagon, the bottles usually go for around $65 to $80 a bottle.
Yeah. Wasn't he like at 300? Yeah.
300 plus.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And then people started giving him shit about it. And he said, well, it's for a charity. And
it wasn't for a charity.
It was not for, it was
and
for his charity.
He didn't talk very nicely to people.
No.
When you would message and say something like that, man, he'd fire back with some.
Yeah.
He's a nasty dude.
Yeah.
Anyway. So you watched it on Mash and Drum?
Yeah. And then not long after that, it sort of started showing up in our area.
Yeah,
it
took
was about
a while.
year and a half ago, I think, when they sort of started.
Well, I think it was definitely probably a couple months into COVID.
Yeah.
So probably May, June. So maybe just over a year that it's hit Texas. And I guess we need to say that. I think people listening may think it's everywhere. It's not.
No, it's still not.
It's still very.
not
Yeah, I mean, I know the guys up in Michigan talk that they still don't get it up there, and
Right.
probably some East Coast places that don't get it since they're in Nevada. That I'm sure it's loaded in these western states. But last June we finally got it to hit here, and I remember it was uncut, unfiltered, and it hit down at Specs downtown.
Yep.
And I was in there, and I started messaging everybody, going, "Anybody want a bottle?" Because there was no limit.
Right.
And then, I don't know, a month later, they got another shipment in, and it was a one bottle.
One per.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Yep.
All right. Well, what do you like about this? I mean, obviously, what they're known for, if you don't know Smoke Wagon, again, it's sourced, and they're very upfront about that MGP. But what they do to kind of differentiate themselves is they blend, and Aaron's in charge of that, from what I understand.
Correct. Aaron does all the blending.
And so he's taking different bottles from MGP, different mash bills. I mean, different bottles, different barrels, different mash bills.
I think the mash.
I think they're all the same.
They prefer a one singular mash bill that MGP does, and it is a high rye, 36% rye.
And it's 60% corn.
Yep.
And so 4% malted barley.
Correct.
Okay. And then his skill, his talent is to kind of taste barrels and kind of figure out what he wants to put together. Uncut, unfiltered. Is that a single barrel?
No.
It's not.
No,
Is it?
they're all
still blend.
They're all blends.
Okay.
Unless you get a private barrel.
Right.
Unless you get a private barrel.
Right.
Okay.
And because he blends everything from, I mean, he's got some 12-year-old, 13-year-old barrels that he's got, and he may blend that with a 4-year-old that needs some more structure. But so it can contain multiple barrels of varying ages.
I really like what they're doing as far as their blending. I think they're one of the better blenders, up there with, I think Bardstown Bourbon Company is probably one of my favorite blenders.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy what they come, and they're really open about it. Like, if I remember right, I've seen Aaron have did a YouTube or something live where he was blending and going through his process, and it was just really
exactly
neat to
what he
watch.
does.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I find really interesting and great about it is that, like you said, Glenn, that he is the face of Smoke Wagon, and he is constantly on social media talking about the barrels that he's blending, showing how he's doing it, what he's including,
what his target is, and
right?
It's just the whole process,
right? Because he'll say, this batch I want to be a little spicier or hotter on the palate than the last one, and so he's got a goal with each batch, and they're not all going to be the same. If you're looking for a consistent Wild Turkey 101 product, that's not what he's going for.
Yeah, and they're also, at a lower, quantity of barrels to blend, it becomes more challenging but it also allows you to sort of emphasize or really accentuate certain things in those barrels. Whereas if you have, a crap ton of barrels, it kind of gets, sort of washed out.
Right.
Well, I'm gonna
You gonna break the ice?
impersonate Carter today.
Oh, you're gonna call it?
I can call my shot off the nose. I don't know if you guys been talking. I've been letting you guys chit chat. I'm over here just sticking my nose in there a little bit, and I'm like, okay, I know what all three are. Probably wrong, but I'm pretty confident that I know what all three are already. And we're doing this for fun, but we thought we would probably be able to tell. I mean, I thought if we had some level of competition, it would be the uncut, unfiltered with the small batch, but I still think we'll know those two as well.
Yeah, I could venture a guess, but I think I gotta get into the palate to.
So how often, here's a question for you guys if you know the answer. You think about Las Vegas, you think hotter than hell. I mean, it's a desert.
Yep.
So when he gets these barrels in, I mean, is he sitting on these for a couple of months and letting them continue to do some stuff? When he's blending, they're there for a period of time. They have to be to kind of mingle together and let the enzymes and everything kind of get to know each other a little bit and settle down. That's got to be for a couple of months, isn't it?
I think it's longer than months.
Oh, it is longer
for
than
some
months.
of these. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the part of the process that I have no idea about. I don't know how often they're getting barrels in from MGP and how long he's sitting on them before he starts blending.
What is, when we think about the definition of bourbon, it's still bourbon, even though he's taking barrels, putting them together in a vat, charring a new American oaked barrel, and putting it back in there in this batch and letting them sit for a while. Or is he just putting them in a vat?
I think he's just putting them in a vat to blend. I don't think
he's not rebarreling.
Not re-aging.
That's what I was wondering, because I'm going, I don't get as much oak, and you don't get it where he's doing any, almost like that double oak kind of.
Right. Because
I'm thinking Vegas would kill it.
That would be a finished product.
That's why that was my point for that. I was wondering, is it still a bourbon or is it a finished?
Yeah, it's still a bourbon.
So this is he's just putting it in a large steel vat and then blending it together, letting it sit for a while in there, and then bottling.
Yep.
Okay. So what do you guys think on the nose, these three? So we have the standard bourbon, the small batch, and uncut unfiltered. And how many different batches of uncut unfiltered? How often does he release, do you know? Because the proofs are different on the one you brought, Glenn, versus the one I have.
I think he's doing stuff now because it's being distributed more widely, that he's putting out a batch pretty regularly. I think I saw most recently that he's up to like batch 65 or 67, something like that.
I don't know where it says on there what batch it is.
Well, now, how old is your bottle?
It's an older bottle. Like,
okay,
it's
because now they've started putting the batch on the back of the bottle with a separate label.
Okay, so mine's when it first came out, so I obviously don't have that either.
No, so usually up near the up near the shoulder, right there in that space.
That back center.
Yeah, they put a label that says batch 57 or something.
I do remember seeing some other batches that have come out. I remember when Prideful Goat was released, I was downtown, and they were also releasing another batch of this, and it did have that batch. It was in the 50s. You made me think of that when you said that. So
yeah, because I think I saw something the other day on Instagram that he was blending batch 67 or something like that. So the three bottles that I've seen that have been different batches for the uncut unfiltered all seem to be 114 point something. Yeah.
So that seems to be a kind of a sweet spot that he's found, that whatever he's trying to get from that uncut unfiltered, that kind of seems to be where he's landing.
Yeah, because we've got a couple different bottles here today, and one is 114.2 and the other one's 114.9.
Yep.
So they're close.
Very close. So it seems to be kind of. All right. You guys have, I'm going to call, so we're left to right, we're A, B, and C. And I'm going to call my shot off the nose, and then I'll see if I change my mind on the palate.
I'm not going to call my shot. I will say that of the three, A, B, and C, I would say B is my favorite on the nose.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Probably B, C, A.
A's the straight bourbon. We can just say
that,
what it
that
is.
would be my guess.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be like Carter and call my shot. So
yeah, it looks lighter.
Yeah, just based on color, that's what I would say. But
yeah, like B is I think the darkest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but with A, there doesn't seem to be as much complexity, depth to it on the nose.
Yeah. And you were a little surprised that I said I like just the straight bourbon. I like it for mixing.
Oh, for mixing.
Because of the high rye content.
Okay.
I really think it makes a great old fashioned.
I could see that for sure.
And it's cheap. It's like
it's $29.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to dive in,
Okay.
put some on the palate, see what we think.
All right, let's do it. And just for those listening, just on another occasion, Rob came over and I had my wife pour a blind with Smoke Wagon and one outlier. But when she did that, we poured the straight bourbon, the small batch, and the Desert Jewel, and then had an outlier just to kind of. I knew what 4 bottles were in the blind, but didn't know the order. Rob had no idea what was in the blind.
And that was my first time experience, and my only time that I've had
Smoke
Wagon, and that's been 3 months ago.
I think even more than that.
Maybe more than that, yeah. It's been a while.
Yeah, and there was a clear loser.
Oh, it was an absolute clear loser, but do you remember what my winner was?
I do remember what the winner was.
Which shocked me for me. On that particular night, it wasn't Desert Jewel.
No, wasn't mine either. Desert Jewel was not the winner.
And we're throwing out Desert Jewel, and people who know Smoke Wagon are going, now what the hell are they talking about?
Right.
We talked about the barrel pick, but in addition to doing barrel picks, he sometimes makes a special release of some different blends that he does.
Right, and the Desert Jewel was a 10-year that was a single release. And unfortunately, a year ago in February, I was in Vegas for a meeting right before COVID shut everything down. And Desert Jewel was getting quite a bit of press and notice at the time. So I went to the Total Wine in Vegas, and they had 6 or 8 of them on the shelf. And I bought one for me and one for a coworker, and left the others sitting there. And now,
did you sell it to your coworker for $850?
I did not.
Man.
Yep. And now they're going for the crazy secondary price of anywhere from $750 to $850. I've seen.
I knew they were up there.
So
now he had another release that there was some
that was
scuffle about online. Apparently, would you remember the name of that release? Where
it was something rare, like ultra rare or something.
So it's the one where he asked people who got access to it.
Right. It was a giveaway.
Don't sell it. Yeah, it was a giveaway.
He did a giveaway on his Instagram page, and you had to sign a
I'll drink this bottle letter.
Right.
Whatever.
Not a non-disclosure, but something similar, basically saying that you would not flip the bottle.
Yeah.
That you won a raffle, not a raffle, you won a contest, that you were gifted that bottle. And inevitably, as in today's bourbon world, one person gets that bottle and goes straight to secondary. Aaron got a little peeved and called that person out on.
He did, and there was some mixed feelings on
both sides.
Well, and as to how Aaron reacted, whether it was justified or did he cross the line. And I'm not going to say I know all the details because obviously I don't. I can't remember the name of the bourbon. Do you know it, Glenn?
No, I don't.
But I got to tell you, if I'm going to lean one way, I probably lean on Aaron's side.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, if you agreed to that and he was generous enough to give you something that was that exclusive.
Right, and you knew the rules up front.
Yeah. So. I'd just say this. If you want to sell that bottle, do it in the shadows.
Yeah.
Don't put it out on all these big Facebook pages. Right. Find a guy off. It ain't going to be that hard to put some feelers out in the community. And, I mean, you could have avoided all the, slapping Aaron in the face, so to speak.
Yeah, but, everybody in this day and age, some people want some instant notoriety and tend, whatever they want to call it, flexing. Like, look what I've got. So
do you have any idea how often he's releasing uncut, unfiltered batches now?
I've seen him probably
2 or 3 times a year.
No, it's like every month.
Yeah,
is it that often?
I think it's a couple times a month.
Is it hitting our market that often?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But the problem is now is that it very rarely sees the shelf. It has gone into the back room of specs.
It's allocated now,
and you have to ask for it. Now downtown will
put some out.
They'll stand in the aisle and crack the cases and start handing them out.
Here's a question for you. Have you ever seen this at Total Wine? I'm naming the other big box store in our market in Houston, Total Wine. I've never seen this at Total Wine.
I have not.
No, because when it started showing up in our area, Total Wine changed their policy of what they were doing with.
Yeah, but it's not an allocated bottle.
Well,
are they classifying it as
they're basically saying it's allocated.
But I don't even know. Does Specs have exclusivity to the Smoke Wagon brand?
No, that's why I didn't think they did either. Because Smoke Wagon's not, unless they're just buying everything they have. But I think Smoke Wagon wants to be in as many stores as possible, because even the mom and pops are getting them.
Because I didn't think that I had seen it in, say, Ryan's or Ricky's or any of the
I've seen it at
stores.
Dandy's and places
Dandy's.
like that. I've seen it at some smaller places, but I just never seen it at Total Wine, which kind of surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, it was interesting. Week and a half ago, I was in a Specs location in the suburbs, and I'm perusing the bourbon aisle, and you can always spot the person that is going to ask for allocated bottles, and he wheeled his card over to the manager, and kind of leaned in, whispering, asking for allocated bottles, and the manager went into the office and came back out with the special labeling of the straight bourbon, the red, white, and blue that was released for 4th of July.
Yeah.
We're talking a $29 bottle, just with a limited label for 4th of July, red, white, and blue, and they're keeping that in the office under lock and key. It's insanity.
It always cracks me up whenever, a brand does something like that, and how the market reacts to that. Mm-hmm. It's just insane. There's nothing different from that. Like I know I've seen that on over the 4th of July. I've seen the regular bottling on the shelf,
right?
And people are just clamoring for the red, white, and blue,
right?
Like it was something special.
Yep.
It's the same thing, but
the contents in the bottle are the exact same.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I guess if you're a Smoke Wagon geek, and it's kind of got a cult following, and you just want it to, kind of
something for your shelf.
For your shelf. I get it. But obviously everybody was asking for it, because they're not going to put it in the back unless they're seeing that demand of people asking for it. So to your point, I get it that, why are you asking for it? I didn't even look for that, but I could care less.
And what's interesting is that the guy didn't ask for it by name. He just asked
for anything
allocated, and the store employee came walking out with
look what I got,
and showed it to him, and he held it in his hand and looked at it, and
you go, what is this?
And ended up giving it back to the employee, saying no, he didn't want it.
Yeah.
So, and you could tell he was asking for Buffalo Trace products.
Yeah.
And they didn't have any Buffalo Trace.
Well, and no knock on Smoke Wagon for doing that. I think it's great. You're celebrating the 4th of July, and
absolutely,
to whether it be our independence or to the military, whatever your reason for doing a bottle like that, America just in general, I think that's great. But for the hype, I don't think they do that at Smoke Wagon, going, let's create a bottle and just create some hype. Maybe they do, but I don't think so. I think they truly had
good intentions
there.
Absolutely.
Just funny how we all react.
Right.
So,
but it's just like Bud, Miller, Coors, like they'll
whether it be an Olympic can because the Olympics are here, or
like
Christmas
that,
for Coke or whatever.
I've heard the side of like craft brewers are like, this is just ridiculous, like just making a new package just for every holiday or whatever.
Right. Yeah. And because right now, I don't know if y'all have noticed, but regular Jim Beam on the shelf has a Houston Astros label on it.
You know who else was doing that for a little while? Maker's Mark had that.
With the
orange and blue
dip.
Yep, I got one
wax on the top.
Did you get one of those?
Well, but I got it when we won the World Series.
Tater.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But
all right.
So on the palate, what are you getting? Because I still think I know what.
So I don't know if I'm trying to remember how I reacted. I can't remember exactly what I was tasting last time, but I remember when I tasted these for the first time at your house, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
It was different to me. I kept almost saying,
you were asking if it was a Scotch.
Yeah, it reminded me. I was just going to say that. It reminded me of a Scotch.
Yep.
And I'm not getting that today at all.
Yeah.
It's totally different. So I don't know if it was what we were eating.
But you were completely blind when you did it at my house.
Yeah.
Today we know what's in the glass.
But I still thought I was going to get that. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to getting this kind of funkiness on there that I'm not getting today. And to be honest, I actually like the bourbon better, and I think I know which one it is, better than I did at your house that night.
Yeah.
I remember just going, okay, this is,
Yeah.
sorry, trash.
Yep.
But today I'm going, I kind of like this.
Yeah.
It's an easy drinker, $32. It's not. I haven't opened it. It's been sitting here all this time going, what am I going to open it for? I don't like it.
Right.
But now that we're doing the show today, I'm going, hey, this is pretty solid for a little 94 proof or 92.5, whatever it is.
Because I've revisited it several times since then, because when you and I did that blind, I said, okay, that's one bottle that I will not buy again.
Yeah.
After
you had the same
after
feelings.
comparing it with the other three in the lineup.
Yeah.
But after revisiting it several times, I don't get that again. Drinking it on its own, starting off the evening with that.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a great palate warm up, you know?
Yep.
I'm not sure if it was something we were snacking on, because we had a little snacks and some food before we went in and did that.
Yep.
And maybe that's what it was. But we know food can, you know.
But of those, I'm guessing it's considerably younger.
I would agree.
Than the uncut, the blend into the average age of the uncut, unfiltered, and the small batch. I would think that the straight bourbon is a younger blend, but it definitely was the one that did not fit in that night.
But it doesn't drink real young.
No,
like it's not like it's harsh or
absolutely
abrasive or
it's not
or just a heavy corn taste.
Yeah.
To me, it's just a little thinner on the palate. Mm-hmm. I mean, you get the hints of what you're getting on the other two, but it's just, it's faint.
Yep.
But I don't get a lot of fruit on any of these. These are
not fruit. No,
not at all.
I get like black tea, corn, and cinnamon.
The bacon spice is there.
I think the high rye, the 36% rye, is way more leaning towards the baking spices.
Yeah.
So I would say if you're a fruit-forward kind of bourbon drinker, this may not be for you. But if you're open to all things, or you like that baking spice, and
but I think the high rye mash bill of Four Roses. Some of this reminds me of some of the high rye
the
bees.
Yeah.
Because that's what, 35%?
35, which is pretty close.
Yep.
I think it's 60, 35, and 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then it's 75, 20, and 5 on the E's.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I've sipped them through them a few times, a couple times at least, 2 or 3 times. You guys done the same? You have a favorite? You ready to call your shot?
I don't know about call my shot. I still have a favorite, and B has still remained my favorite, even on the nose and on the palate. C is a very close second for me, and A's
the bourbon.
Not off-putting. It's just different.
Yeah. I mean,
mouthfeel is thinner, doesn't have as much viscosity to it.
And I mean, you guys are both right. We can tell by looking at it too, the color. Not that I can tell looking at the bottles so much, because
they're brown bottles.
Yeah, the straight bourbon's in a clear. We can see that liquid, but you can't see the other ones in the bottle. But pouring it in the glass, you have to assume that's the younger. Doesn't have that barrel contact to it like the other ones. But it's not bad.
I think just the proofing down is causing that.
Right.
Like I don't think it's much younger, honestly, than some of these others.
It's just okay, that's a good point.
I think it's probably comparable in age.
It's just got more water added to it.
Correct. Yeah. And it's likely a little younger, but it's not like it's a 2-year-old bourbon.
Right. No.
And
No. I don't think
6 or 8.
I don't think any of these are less than 4 years old. I think they're probably all 5 to 7, and maybe 6 to 9 on the small batch, and then I'm sure there's some 10 to 12-year-old on that uncut unfiltered, I would think. Yep. Agree, disagree?
No, I agree. I agree. One thing I think that Aaron does is tries to keep some older age stuff for special occasions.
Those creations that he does, like the Desert Jewel and some other things.
Right. I think most of the time that when I've watched him on Instagram doing his blending, that he blends in the 4 to 9 year age
For the uncut unfiltered?
for the small batch
most of them.
and the uncut.
Okay,
unfiltered.
so it's pretty consistent on those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And if he needs some more oak and some more depth that he will add in some of an older aged barrel.
Okay. Well, we have all these questions, and we're trying to make some assumptions on what we think. We may just need to reach out and see if Aaron will come talk to us a little bit.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I think he seems like he's the kind of guy that does that, that's happy to go out and kind of talk about what he's doing in his brand.
He's the face of the brand.
Yeah, does a great job.
Yeah. And he posts most evenings from his pool, having a cigar and a pour of Smoke Wagon in the pool.
Can't beat that. That's the life.
That's a good way to finish a day. Yeah.
So what do you think, Rob, since you hadn't had these in a while, or really hardly ever?
Yeah. It's my second time ever having them. Like I said, I'm not as put off on that straight bourbon as I was, and I don't know why, but I actually like it. You can tell it's thinner. You can tell the profile's very similar to the uncut, unfiltered in the small batch. Like you said, I think you probably nailed it, Glenn. It's just more diluted. That's probably the better way to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
it's just more diluted.
Because that was one thing that the noses of all three were not, you could tell that they were from the same family.
Yeah.
But
yeah, same stuff's there.
See, I think my favorite nose is C.
Do you?
And on C, it's almost like I get a little hint of some fruit there, where the other two I don't.
Because that's what I thought with B, that I had a little sweetness, little fruit.
So you think the 100 proof, which we're just assuming is C,
right? It's a small batch.
That the ethanol is covering up on B, and then it's just too watered down on A to get those kind of. So 100's about your sweet spot. Which I don't. I would agree. That's kind of where I like living. In
100 to 115 is kind of where I like.
Well, but that encompasses.
Well, it does. Yeah, absolutely. Right? These two would be right in the sweet spot: the uncut, unfiltered, and the small batch. I think. My favorites on the palate are going to go CBA.
Okay.
And I think it's uncut, unfiltered is C. B is small batch. And A is the straight bourbon.
So I'm thinking B is uncut, unfiltered.
I'm about to tell you.
Ooh,
not guess. He's going to tell us.
No, tell you my thoughts. I just sampled B again, and it's amazing. To me, it's like, what's the cereal? The French Toast Crunch?
Cinnamon Toast Crunch?
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Yeah.
That just popped out when I just had the latest sip of B. So now I'm going to go on to C and see what I think.
C is my favorite.
I guess C is drinking a little hotter.
I think I would agree with you that C is the uncut, unfiltered.
Yep.
It's a little hotter.
To me, it's got more punch to it. Mm-hmm. The similar flavor profile.
Yep.
But I'm getting more out of C. It's just bigger there. I just really like that one a lot better.
Yeah, the finish is definitely longer with
bigger.
C. Yep, bigger, longer. That's what she said.
You want that?
That's what she said.
Okay. I'm not on it today, Dave.
No.
That's what she said.
Yeah, we're definitely engaged with the bourbon today.
Yeah.
And not the control board.
So I got to tell you, I came into this going, okay, I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about Smoke Wagon because I really had this perception in my mind after that last tasting. But I got to tell you, I'm a fan, man.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
When we were talking, when you came in, and I went, I forget how I asked you the question, but I said something, hey, you're a big fan, right? You really like, because I don't see a lot of your pouring Smoke Wagon a lot. Not that you don't drink it, I just don't see it.
Yep.
And you're like, oh man, I love all their stuff, man. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was in my mind going, yeah, we're going to do this, but it's not my favorite.
Yeah,
and
which was clearly evidenced by the 3 bottles that we poured today. None of them were open.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you'd been just hanging on to them, not really
had this uncut, unfiltered over a year.
Yeah, and all 3 bottles were unopened. So
yeah. And now those will be poured often. These are really really tasty, man. Really good bourbons. I'm very pleased
because I think our palates are similar. And Glenn, I mean, we are big rye fans.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I think we all like higher rye.
right.
It's just more interesting.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. So that's why I always wondered why you weren't getting a little more into Smoke Wagon than other stuff.
And I think it's really interesting. Like the profile of the Smoke Wagon is so different from most other bourbons that it just, I don't know. I really enjoy it, especially if I want to break from something. Like if, you get into a routine of maybe having the same thing.
Right.
This like over and over, and then just, I don't know. It's just refreshing and it's different.
Yeah.
Okay. We can reveal.
You want to do the reveal?
Yeah, but what I did was I was sucking.
You did your own blending?
Yeah, I put a little A, B, and C together and made me a little blend and see how I feel about that. But I was drinking mine obviously quicker than you two, so we know who has.
We were
the
too
problem.
busy talking.
Yeah.
But maybe you can be an apprentice to Aaron.
Doubt it. All right. I got my half of the cheat sheet, Dave.
All right. And I've
You
got
got
the other
your
half.
half.
This is like the Academy Awards. that
So
nobody watches.
So I think we all agreed that C was our favorite,
C was my favorite.
or was it? We were just
you two were between B and C.
yeah. I was. But
Yeah,
I think
I actually think B was more my favorite. Not that I didn't like C. I think the finish was much longer on C. Drinks a little hotter, but just for the all-around experience, I tend to lean towards B.
Yeah.
Just better suited to your palate.
Yep.
Okay.
It is like easier to drink.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Whether you
But
want
it
to call
still has all the flavors
Absolutely.
that C does.
Yeah,
It's
like I
just
said,
toned down a
Cinnamon
little.
Toast Crunch to me is
Yeah.
what that
All
is
right,
what
so-
came through.
So your favorite was you're going with B?
Man, I would almost put them as a tie.
Yeah, interchangeable
honestly,
between B and C.
But I would have to lean towards C. If
Okay,
I had to pick
I'm C.
one,
Yeah.
it would be C.
Yeah,
I
depends on what evening it is for me.
Yeah.
C could be the clear winner, or B could be the clear winner. But
And I think on C, because it's not proofed down, it's barrel strength. Well, I'm saying C like I know what it is, but I'm thinking if that's the uncut unfiltered, it's not proofed down to 100
Right.
like the small batch. So like you were
Correct.
talking about the straight bourbon, I think you're diluting where I really like that big rye spice on the
Agreed.
on C. So C's my favorite, and then B,
yep,
and then A.
like I said, interchangeable for me. Today I'm going to lean a little more towards B, but C was very enjoyable.
Well, let's see what they are.
All right.
Go ahead. What was C? Number what?
C was number one. Oh, C was one.
Yeah, that's an uncut unfiltered.
unfiltered.
That's what I thought.
Okay. 2 is A.
2 is A. That's the bourbon.
Okay.
And 3 is a small batch, which is B.
Which is B. So we called it.
called it. Yeah.
Yep.
We and we're not impressing anybody. We should have been able to.
No.
They were so different,
Right.
and very easy to tell. Where I thought we might have, like I said earlier, the toughest time would be between the B and the A, but it was pretty obvious with that 15 points and almost 15 points and
Yeah.
proof. It kind of stood out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think B and C were harder to differentiate just because of you have more of the similar flavors between the two. One just had a little more proof and a little higher.
Yeah, I think
that was
I think that what really came through after I tasted back through them again and really paying attention to the finish, that C had a much longer finish.
Yeah.
Which told me
here's
it was the
where
higher
we're going to
proof.
have a little fun. Your bottle, we've already had that batch of uncut, unfiltered.
yeah.
We are going to open my bottle that hasn't been opened yet, and we'll do another little blind. We'll come back, and we'll do it against this single barrel.
private barrel
Yeah.
pick.
I'm assuming it's a single barrel, right?
Yep, single barrel number 509,
Okay.
warehouse WC5,
8 years old.
8 years old, and it's a Specs
And that's 114.6.
114.6. And that's
My uncut unfiltered 114.9.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what we think about a single barrel versus a blended, a little blind. We'll come back and see what we think about that and have a little fun.
Let's do it.
You guys good with that?
Yeah.
Good.
All right, we'll get these poured up. We'll be right back. We'll see you in just a few minutes. In the podcast listening world, it'll be the blink of an eye. All right. We are back. See, that was just like a snap of the fingers. And we got all these poured up. All right, this is going to be fun here, guys, because just kind of thinking in my mind, we always hear people talk about single barrel and how much they like a pick because it is a single barrel and its uniqueness. And I've had a conversation with a couple of people about, yeah, that's cool, but, I mean, I know there's still some involvement or call it skill from the master distiller to know, aging, when to pull it, when it's at its, its prime in that barrel or whatever. But to me, I think really seeing the ability and the skill of a master distiller is in the blending, when they can take some things, put it together and make something fantastic. So I'm curious to see how I'm going to come out on this, because if I'm going to say I lean one way or the other, I'm going to say I lean towards the blended product.
Yes.
Even though you
Same
can't
here.
get, huh?
Same here.
Same here?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there are absolutely some fantastic single barrels, but the variety and the different discrepancies that you're going to get from barrel to barrel are infinite.
Yeah. So we have Uncut Unfiltered, which is a blended product. And then we have this pick from Specs that is a single barrel, both just slightly above 114. So we'll jump into these and see what we think. So here we go. Color-wise, I mean, they're similar.
Yep.
Age-wise, we know that the single barrel's 8 years old. Mm-hmm. We're assuming that it's 9 years, between that 7 to 9 year range on the Uncut Unfiltered is what you said. Maybe a little bit of some younger stuff in there, but in that range.
Yep.
And I would say color-wise, they look very similar.
They're very similar. A might be a tad darker, richer, but
Yeah, I think I would agree with you.
but they're really, really close.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
So I'm getting a different note in A that
Are
I
you?
didn't get.
So A to me has all kinds of stuff going on that I like, and B to me is a little flat.
Well, I'm getting fruity stuff out of A.
In A.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like that,
absolutely.
I don't remember getting I get like some cherries.
But see, this is what I got on the other Uncut Unfiltered. If you remember on C, I said when we were the last segment, I was going, I get some more fruit on C than I do on B or A, which was the small batch and the straight bourbon. What do you think, Brant?
Giving a little armpit sniff just to.
That's a pro tip given to us, or given to me anyway, by Brant. I definitely like the nose a lot better on A than B.
Yeah, I think there's just more to it.
Mm-hmm. A lot more to it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I would agree. I like both of them, but there's more complexity in A.
I'm going to look awfully silly if that's the single barrel, because right away I'm going, I got to think that's the Uncut Unfiltered. That the blending is what gives you this complexity that he's created in here.
Yep.
But I may be wrong. But you're right, Glenn. This is where you get some fruit.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I thought when we originally tasted through the first lineup, was that I got more of it with B in the first round, but C definitely had some fruit also. But like you said, the ethanol may have covered that up.
Yeah, but we should also state that the Uncut Unfiltered that we're doing now is a fresh crack.
Right.
What does that matter?
It's a neck
Same.
pour.
What is that? There's no such thing.
Yeah.
The pour came out of the neck.
Are you guys sitting here telling me that you think in a month that bottle will be different?
No, I'm not.
I'm telling you in 4 months that the other one was opened. Because we were down at almost the bottom of.
But you
of
think
mine.
it's so? But you think that makes that better or worse? How does it affect it? What's the effect?
It makes it different. I'm not saying better or worse.
Okay. Well,
All I'm saying is it's different.
than what it was initially out of the bottle.
Yes.
And I never had it then, so all I can do is compare
Yeah,
it to. Okay.
Exactly. But all I'm saying, we're doing,
The uncut, unfiltered is a fresh crack.
the other thing I would say also, though, is that this is a smaller, I would almost say artisanal kind of distillery or craft distillery that isn't a massive producer like Jim Beam or Wild Turkey or Buffalo Trace.
Sure.
So there's going to be a little more variability bottle to bottle. Now, every uncut, unfiltered I've had has been pretty close. But there is some, I would say there's probably some difference.
I would say B is starting to open up a little bit more now. And I'm starting to get a little bit more complexity on that one than I was initially. It's still not as pronounced as A.
Yeah.
For 114 on either one of these, I mean, A still, the ethanol is a little bit more pronounced, but neither one are like, the ethanol just doesn't beat you up
No,
at
it's
114.
not burning your nose hairs.
I mean, I can snick my nose all the way in. Hold on.
That's what she said.
Yeah. I'm going to go out on a limb and think that A is the blended product.
Uncut, unfiltered. That's where I'm at. I haven't even tasted them yet.
Yep.
Have you tasted it?
I
Okay.
have not.
Glenn, on the nose, what are you thinking?
I would probably have to agree.
Okay.
All right. I'm going in.
That's what she said.
That doesn't get old. My wife says that gets old. I don't think it gets old.
For 12-year-old boys, that never gets old.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do we ever get past 12 years old? No.
Or some gray-headed 12-year-olds.
That's all right.
Okay, B is opening up now. I mean, it was a little bit flat on my nose earlier. I haven't tasted any of these yet.
Getting a
either of
little
these.
more cocoa, a little more chocolate, I think.
Just that dark kind
Yeah.
of flavors out of it. Yeah.
Yep. But it's still not, I don't think it's anywhere near
Hey,
as deep. So Aaron must be doing a hell of a job over there, unless these aren't what we think they are.
You don't have to sniff your armpit.
I know, but I like it.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. Your wrist works just as fine.
Yeah, that's no fun.
Yeah.
Does it really, though?
Yes. What you're doing is you're smelling something familiar. So it's like your skin is what, obviously you can't escape your skin. So it's just something that you're used to. And so
All right.
it just sort of resets your nose.
You ready to call it?
I'm pulling the David Scott. I'm
All right.
going in.
Do it.
A's pretty tasty.
Oh, you hadn't tasted
No.
it? Okay.
I'm just now going in for some tastes. Have you
Wow.
tasted them, Glenn?
Yeah, I have.
I've tasted
of them.
both and
Multiple times?
I've gone through once.
You've tasted them once?
same.
Yep.
That's what she said.
Come on, no chuckles, no nothing. Silence.
Wow.
All right. A's got, you get the proof on A. Do you both already have your opinion of calling your shot? Do you think you know which ones are which? And that's not the point of this. It's not to try to figure it out. You're going to, ultimately, you're deciding which one you like better, and then you're just saying which one you think it is.
Yeah, I'm still working on which one I like more. They're both so close, I think.
So if I'm going to describe these, Glenn, I'm going to use terms that you used earlier. That if you're looking for something that's an easy drinker, just that you're going to, it's very rounded and finished.
Yeah.
B's that. You can sip on that and it's nice and easy on the palate. You still get a nice finish. You get that Kentucky hug.
Of these
Or
two?
Indiana hug. B. A, to me, is bigger and bolder in my mouth. Bigger finish and a longer finish that
Yeah.
So B's the easier drinker if you're going
I
to
think
sip on
the
it for a while.
ethanol, like the spice and some of the alcohol burn, it's more prominent in A. It's I think B is less assertive as far as that's.
I would agree. And you disagree, Dave?
I don't disagree, but I think with B, it's way more astringent, mouth drying.
Yeah.
And to me,
Tannic.
Tannic, yes.
Right.
Really?
Tannic. So to me, that tells me that it is definitely the single barrel.
Yeah.
I also think
That's what
it's
I'm
the
leaning
single
towards.
barrel.
But flavor-wise, I think they are both outstanding. But B just doesn't have the rounded mouthfeel that I think you're going to get from blending different aged products to get a finished product.
So A's more from beginning to end. Like there's more going on.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
Where
definitely
B
more
is kind of
rough.
it's more singular for me. It sort of peaks maybe in the mid palate. Like you don't get much on the front. It peaks and then it's just sort of slowly falls off. Where A is just like it's strong up front. You still get a bunch of spice and stuff mid palate, and then it's still lingering finish wise. I like A a lot.
And see, B was probably, I used the term rounded. That's probably wasn't the right term to use for that. I think you saying a single note, just kind of
It's
not a lot of
It's more
complexity.
linear,
Yeah.
as far as it's not one single note, but it's sort of all in the same. You have the drying,
Yeah.
the sort of maybe darker notes, where A, I just get more like fruity up front, sort of spice in the middle, transitioning to like.
I just think
wood
complex. There's a lot that you can pick out in it
I
if you
agree.
let it sit on your palate.
I agree.
A's my favorite, and I think it's the uncut, unfiltered.
I think so as well.
I would agree.
So should we
Do the unveiling.
let's do it. So we're not telling you again single barrel.
Yeah.
It might be another barrel that you do this with another uncut, unfiltered batch that the single barrel just kicks its butt. But we're not even saying we're right yet. But
No, and when I got this bottle, the day that I got it, Specs had picked, I don't know, 6 or 8 different barrels. And
did you get 2 different barrels?
I did. I got 2 different barrels. It was a 2-bottle limit, so you could get
2 different
a couple
barrels.
different barrels. And my other bottle isn't open yet, so I can't
Okay.
give you a comparison. But yeah, so
All right, I'm ready when you are.
fire away.
What's A? Number one or 2?
Number A is number 1.
That's the pick.
Wow.
That's the pick.
Edit out the part where I said Aaron does a fine job.
2 is uncut, unfiltered.
Wow.
B.
Because I didn't switch it up. I just went A-B with 1, 2.
Wow. But that pick is,
That pick is outstanding.
yes, it is. Don't we look silly?
Yes.
We're thinking the master, Aaron did this great job blending these, but that single barrel. See, that's where I get back to, I don't always think a single barrel is better, but in this instance, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
The single barrel is,
I mean,
and to me, it's not even like really close. The single barrel's a lot better in this instance.
yeah. And we all agreed that we preferred A.
Yeah.
B was also very good. Just seemed more singular note.
Which you think is single
Would
barrel.
be a
You
single barrel.
didn't do anything to it.
Right.
That blows me away.
But that single barrel is outstanding.
Yeah, it is. Wow. Very impressed. Look a little silly. But that's all right.
That's the part of doing it blind is
It is.
I mean, you have preconceived notions. You know what's in the glasses,
yeah.
but it's blind which glass is which. So with your preconceived notions,
Well, if I'm going to be honest, it's almost like the blending, the uncut, unfiltered, has things taken away from it. Mm-hmm. It's missing what I'm getting in that single barrel.
Yep.
And, you know, when you think about what you're drinking and knowing one's a pick, a single barrel, and one is something that's been blended and worked on, you're going to think the more complex, more is because he's put things in there to make it that way.
Right.
So I'm from that standpoint, I'm just surprised because I thought it would be pretty straightforward, but I was completely wrong.
Yeah. Bottom line, though, I think having tasted through 4 different bottles or 5 different bottles today, because we've tasted 2 uncut
2 batches.
So Smoke Wagon is putting out some excellent product.
You can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Really, anything in their lineup is well worth sourcing.
Yeah, if it's not in your market yet, keep an eye out for it. If you travel and you're always looking for bourbon and you haven't heard about the Smoke Wagon brand yet, I don't know how you couldn't if you're in any kind of bourbon group. But you see it, definitely worth the buy. And I would even say that $30 for the standard straight bourbon.
No, absolutely.
It's definitely worth it.
Because I think that's one thing we haven't talked about today is price point. So with the straight bourbon, that's around $29 to $32 a bottle.
Yep.
The small batch is around $50.
Yep.
The uncut unfiltered is around $70.
Yep.
And
Picks?
the picks, I think those were $75, somewhere in the $70 to $80 range.
Okay.
And I know that the Desert Jewel that I got, the special release, was a $92 retail. So
That's not bad at all.
no, so every single one of them in the lineup is under $100,
Yeah, you can't beat that.
and they are. I think they're well worth it.
Yeah,
well worth it.
The uncut, unfiltered, finding something that's basically barrel proof, not chill filtered
Yeah.
is, we all enjoy those bottles, like Elijah Craig barrel proof,
Absolutely.
stuff like that. Having something that's more readily available, at least here in Houston, we see them pop up
Weekly,
multiple times a month.
Yeah, a couple times a month.
Yeah, it's well worth finding one of those. I'm happy to pay the $70.
Yeah, because like you said, Glenn, with the Elijah Craig
3 times a year,
Yeah, 3 times a year.
if you can find it. Yeah,
If you can find it. And retail, I guess, is supposed to be $59.99, but most of the time $70, $75 a bottle.
so it's comparable
And
price.
that's what, 12-year-old bourbon.
Right, 12-year-old.
Yeah, so this doesn't have the age statement, but
But it's still not far
it's
behind.
still aged.
yeah.
It's aged. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like it's 2-year-old whiskey.
Yeah.
Well, my point in saying that was I'm trying to think back on the last few batches of the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, and I might like these Smoke Wagons a little bit better.
Yeah.
May have to do a little
It would,
show on
side
it.
by side
Yeah.
with those would be
I think the proof on these are obviously a little bit lower. I think
Yeah.
we're
10 to
120s to
15.
130s.
What we need to try is the B batch from this
from
year.
2021.
which is like 115,
I
right?
have that.
Right.
It's amazing.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that one's been getting mixed reviews, but I think
It has,
because
but
a
what-
lot of proof whores say, it's not traditionally in the teens.
Over 120. Yeah.
Kind of like the 19 Stag.
Yeah.
Was 116.
Yeah.
And people were flipping
Mad
out
about it.
because it wasn't 130.
Yeah.
Right. But it made it so much more approachable.
Yep.
You get so much other flavors.
Because
Just like
that's one thing that I think with some batches, typically the A batches of Elijah Craig come in really, really hot. 130 to 135.
it's hard to pull stuff out.
Yes. And it is mouth drying. But
We missed an opportunity.
yeah. Oh, well. Every once in a while, you got to pull out early.
What'd you say?
That's what she said.
Sorry. All right, fellas. Well, thanks for
Yeah.
doing this one, man. That was a lot of fun.
I agree.
And I came into it going, I want to do a show on Smoke Wagon, but like I said earlier, I was kind of like, I know I'm not going to like these, but let's give it the old college try.
Yeah, because you had
But,
turned yours into Dusties.
Yeah, I had. They've been sitting on the shelf for a while.
Unopened Dusties.
Yeah, but no, this is eye opening. It just goes to show you, don't drink something one time and form an opinion that you're just going to stand on.
Right.
Give them another shot. Different mood, eating different food, different company can, believe it or not,
You
can
need
make
to
a
try
difference.
things, I'd say at least 6 different times.
Yeah.
Different times of the day, after different foods,
Yeah,
all kinds of scenarios. Really gets you an average. so to speak.
Yeah.
It's
the
like
same with wine.
yeah, wine or restaurants. You go to a restaurant one time,
Right.
have a bad experience. I'm never going there again.
Yeah, I never do
You
that.
could be completely missing out.
Cook
on,
could be the chef could be sick, and some guys just
yeah.
filling
You,
in.
you got
never
the
know.
B crew
Yeah.
in the kitchen, and
So
and
I agree
you're
with
just
you there.
missing out.
Yep, but do your due diligence. If you're looking for Smoke Wagon, it's out there. You know, it's unfortunately ending up in the back rooms under lock and key.
At least in Houston.
In Houston, but it comes out several times a month.
Yeah.
So if
Make
you
those
do-
relationships.
Yeah, make those
Okay.
relationships. Do your due diligence.
Let's give the listeners 2 distilleries, producers, blenders, whatever you want to call them, that are doing similar things like Smoke Wagon that you guys enjoy, that maybe they find in their area that they need to go try as well. So if you had to name 2 that are sourcing and blending or whatever, that you go, they're doing some really good things, what would your 2 be? I got my 2, so I can go first, or I can let you guys go.
Top one for me is Bardstown,
Okay, Bardstown.
Yep.
and then Smoke Wagon's the only really other one that I think
ahead.
you're doing a
Yeah,
stand-up
I
job.
think Bellmead is doing some really good stuff, and that
with their finished stuff or
but
the cast strength.
even their
or regular.
now it's not even called cast strength. It's just the reserve now, the
yeah.
108.
Yep.
That it's also sourced from MGP. So, and you can find all of those on the shelf
Yeah.
at every store.
Oh, yeah.
And
I'm going to name 2 that I know have been sourcing, but I think they're starting to try to distill their own product. But I think they're going to do a little bit of both. One is High West. I think does a really good job.
yep.
And that's, I think, nationally everywhere. You should be able to find a lot of their product, not all their products,
They
obviously.
just changed up their product line and what was going to be available year round and what was going to be distillery only. So
The other one that I think that I really enjoy and I like what they're doing is New Riff. So
I've only had one bottle of them. So.
I'm a New Riff fan as well. I've had a rye and a single barrel
Bourbon.
a pick in the bourbon.
I've got 2 picks that I've gotten from them.
Yep.
And have really enjoyed them both. I've tried another pick from somebody else at a friend's house who had brought it back from, I think it was one of the Carolinas. So all of those have been fantastic. And if I'm impressed with those 3 different bottles, I think they're off. And I know that they just have a good reputation of doing some really good things.
Yeah, I just wish New Riff would hit the Texas market.
I do too.
It's not here yet.
Yeah.
So
I would love to try some of their non-pick stuff.
yeah.
Apparently they have a really good rye that's out now too. So
The malted rye, isn't that what it is?
ooh, I'd be lying if I told you exactly what. I just knew rye.
I have
knew
no
they were
idea.
coming out with the rye.
I've had a bottle of the rye of it. They're just standard release rye, and I loved it.
So if you haven't had the Bellmead or the
Bardstown.
Bardstown.
Their Fusion or the Discovery. Discovery's
Less expensive.
BTAC level.
Yeah.
So it's amazing stuff. But even the Fusion is really good stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lower price point.
And then, High West, everybody should know about High West. And Bourbon junkies love High West.
Their
products.
ryes are so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think New Riff is another one. So if, just looking for some of those products that are similar to what Smoke Wagon is and what they're doing, Smoke Wagon's fantastic. I just know it's probably a little bit more limited and harder to find going east than going west. So anyway, guys, a lot of fun, man. Yeah.
Good time.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Thanks, everybody, for joining on this episode of Food, Wine, and Whiskey in Your Own Backyard. And until our next episode, enjoy your next pour.
Yep. Looking
Cheers,
forward
y'all.
to the fresh crack.
Fresh crack coming up.